Welcome, everybody. I'm going to talk to you about something really interesting, which is in this type of situation when we're dealing with COVID, there is a lot of discussion about moving to the cloud, about AI. I can speak for hours over it, but I'm going to start by talking about one quote from Arvind Chandra. As you know, Arvind Krishna just assumed the CEO position at IBM. And I'm quoting something that he said, quote unquote, more than 20 years ago, many experts predicted that every company will become an internet company. Today, I'm predicting that every company will become an AI company, not because they can, not because they must. But why? The answer is very simple. AI is the only way to scale innovation, insight, and expertise. So there we go. We're talking about somebody that's running multi-billion-dollar company that's saying AI, it is here to stay and it is to supercharge what we're doing. But there are challenges with AI. And I'm going to start by highlighting 4 challenges. And this is something that people are concerned about. Let's start with privacy. Privacy, as you know, right now, we are dealing with the situation that our data is available. If you look at North America, Google knows what we search for, Facebook knows what our friends are doing, and Amazon know what we are buying. So we gave away really our privacy in North America. It's slightly different in Europe with GDPR, but that's the situation in North America. In terms of ethics, the question that we are concerned with is the AI machine going to make decisions for us that are not ethical? And then finally, I'll start to look at the notion of black box. If we are dealing with the question, if the AI is making decisions inside a black box, how do I know that the information is correct? Why should I trust it? And the question is, how can we make it into a white box? The next point of interest is to do with bias. Algorithms and AI really are developed by human. This is an example of a bias. This is called the MIT A/B test, the bias machine. And in this case, we're having the presented in front of audience to say, if you are driving a car and you're developing the technology, AI technology algorithms, and you see a little child versus an adult, an older person, who would you hit? If you look at the next slide, you'll see the differential between East and West. You can see in here that if you are somebody that write code out West, you're going to look at it from a differently than somebody that is looking at out in the Western world. If we continue, so these are the things that we have to deal with, and this is for companies that are developing AI, and these are for companies that are promoting it, but also for the users. Let me now shift to the auditors. The auditor really have a dilemma: quality versus efficiency, and this is the thing that we have to balance. If you look at from that perspective, that's some that came right from the standard, and you have to look at it. The ISA 240 standard, basically, if you read the standard carefully, what it's saying, it's actually you are doing the spirit of the methodology and the standard, but not actually the intent. And the reason is because you are not really testing fully everything. And what AI will do, AI will enable you to raise the bar on reasonable assurance. And this is really why AI can become very powerful when using it properly in the AI audit environment. If you look at the current way that you're doing audit, you're doing sampling, and with one basically test, if you look at just testing the last 3 digit, it's very limited testing. If you look at the next slide, where AI is doing the testing, you get 100% coverage. This is more in line with the intent and the spirit of the standard, the ISA 240. It's not only to dealing with structured data. 90% of all the data that's available is actually unstructured. And it's beyond the human capacity to deal with all of that. You really need AI in order to allow you to do that. What does AI enable you to do? All of this 90% of unstructured data, it will enable you to do the golden thread. Just imagine, just think about the ability to go from a transaction on the GL to a transaction in the AP or transaction in the AR, and then finding a document that will match it all together, all done automatically by the AI without human intervention. So when you look at audit without an AI, you're really looking at compliance. You're looking at the rearview mirror. If you look at doing AI utilization with the audit, you are really dealing with a proactive risk analysis, and you're dealing with much more value add than just doing what happened in the past. If we look at the auditors from the auditor perspective, what we have to consider that we are going to shift audit into advisory, what I call shifting a dollar for 4 quarters. So whereas you have a lot of compression of audit fees, you're going to increase the value that you're going to get with advisory, and you're going to generate the same revenue, but now you're providing value-added services to the customer. It also has an impact on the organization. Currently, the shape of the audit firm is really a diamond. It used to be a triangle, but people with temporary staff and people leaving, the young generation leaving the CPA firms, it became a diamond. By having AI into the field, the young people are going to be more in tune to utilize AI to help them. They feel more confident, they feel more engaged, and you go back to this notion of triangle, and you don't need as many people at the bottom, utilizing also high level and managers to do jobs that can be done by lower level skill personnel. So it's important to understand that AI really augment the human capacity. It is not something that is going to replace the auditor. AI does not replace people, it augments what they do. So what we're seeing in here, that we're going to move from a basically number cruncher to a knowledge-based organization. In terms of applying the AI to your organization, you have to be very concerned with one thing, which is the life cycle of technology. The life cycle of technology that you can see in front of you is very simple. It starts with high expectation, and then you go through the effort and you realize, wow, it's difficult. And sometimes you actually end up at the valley of death when you say, well, we cannot do it. But if you can go through this uncertainty and frustration and you move into the I see light at the end of the tunnel, when you go through the tunnel, you actually realize that how can I not done it before? This is so much better and I want more of it. And this is really the life cycle of any technology, including AI. However, some technology adoption failed. And the reason is when you shift between technical change to actually adaptive change. Technical change, you can see in here an example. If you use Netflix, if you use Uber, or if you use Airbnb, you really have not changed anything. In the one case, you get you rent a DVD. In the other case, you get it online. But when you look at adaptive change, like women's emancipation, it took 60 years to get there. It involved legislation, it involved men, it involved women, it involved every walks of life to get this is done. And when you mix the two together, when you try to apply adaptive change to a technical and vice versa, that's when you fail. You cannot really apply technical change to adaptive change. You have to go through the process. That's why when you look at most technology adoption that not following the right adaptive change, 70% of the adoption fail. And why is that? It fails because of the leadership not being involved in the process. When you look, there was a book by the Hogarth and Carter, and they basically, it was the mind of the leader. And they talked to 250 CEOs. And they said, what is it that people are looking for? They're looking for their leader to be present, to be compassionate, to be selfless, and have empathy. If you don't have that, it's not going to work. There's one book that you want to read, is The Fourth Industrial Revolution. They talked about it by the year 2025, 30% of all audits will be done by AI. This just shows you how technology adoption takes place, the curve. And right now we are entering an inflection point where AI is going to be taking over the current tools and methodologies. And you notice that on the blue side, actually the implementation and the utilization of AI-based system will give a lot more functionality, a lot more revenue, a lot more capacity and capabilities to people that are going to implement it. So I want to leave you on a couple of thoughts. Number one, the value of using AI in audit impact the quality. You can have a better risk profile. It gives you better evidence. It impacts the people because the people that are using the AI are going to be more motivated. And it gives you, which is important, client value because you're going to offer value-added services to your client. What can you do as a practitioner? What you have to do is learn to understand AI. You have to develop critical thinking. You have to utilize data knowledge and skill. You have to become analytically driven and basically help your customers to understand the new business model utilizing AI. I want to leave you on one interesting thought. I'm not going to give you the answer. Jillian is going to tell you this story. Why don't the monkeys eat the bananas? It's a very interesting fable. And at the end of the day, Jillian is going to tell you the results of this question. Thank you very much. And I hope that you enjoyed the presentation.